Good morning.
Good morning.
How much is a cup of coffee?
Just $1.50.
Oh, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this virtual world podcast. What do you associate with the term virtual world?
Like RPG, kind of Sims, sort of, where you create a character.
You are good. You must be under 30.
I am.
See? Do you have any associations with the term Second Life? Have you heard of Second Life, a virtual world?
No, I don't know what that is.
Wow. Then you got to listen to the podcast. Okay, so you've been practicing the station ID?
Yeah.
Go.
You are listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
That sounds awesome, and people have no idea. It's before 7:30 a.m., right? And that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And let me tell you, you could have a huge career in morning in morning broadcasting.
Okay. Do you want breakfast?
Yes. Hello and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. We're here in 1920s Berlin. I'm interfacing 1920s Berlin, teleporting myself into the virtual world via a tablet computer. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hello. I'm all right.
So today's show, naturally, all about SL Go. That's the Second Life mobile service from OnLive. It renders Second Life in the cloud. And unapologetically, I will say it is pretty darn impressive. And there's lots of blog posts out there that go into detail from you, Joe, from Inara, from Daniel. Strawberry Singh also wrote a post from the fashion photography angle. And here she is, just a little bit, her voice, her first take when she tried SL Go.
When I first logged in, I went to a very busy sim that usually when I land there on my PC, it takes me almost 10 minutes to res all the buildings and all the textures and everything. And I logged in on the tablet and it was resed in a minute. It wasn't laggy. I was moving around smoothly. The overlay menu was a little confusing at first, but if I had read the paperwork, I would have known that that's the way you do it. I can't see them if they're on vacation or if they don't want to be sitting at their computer or they're somewhere and they get a question from a customer or something. I can see them logging in and to answer the customer. Like I go on a few vacations a year. During that time for a week or two, I'm away from my cell. Now that probably won't be the case. I'll take the tablet. I'll sign up for, a few hours just so I have it. But I don't know if all content creators will use it on a regular basis. I saw you building. I saw Fluffy building, and I know you made it look kind of easy. Another thing that I do want to say is I think it's really good for those people who have older computers that don't render shadows or give the gaming experience. But they can actually, log in and see shadows and walk around lag-free and see mesh and see all the beautiful sims and everything. Like I went to New York City, you went to Insilico and different sims that are so laggy. I think they needed to go mobile because there are people that are just completely mobile and they don't know about SL, and now they will find out about SL and they might even explore it and go and shop. And I think this will open up the market to new users. I think if they roll it into a premium deal or something, it would get more attention. So we'll see where this goes.
So that was Strawberry Singh. Later in the show, we will speak to Dennis Harper and Nate Barsetti from OnLive, and they illuminate a lot and they provide much needed context. I'm sure many listeners who have been reluctant to embrace the service, probably after hearing that it costs money. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about this in a bit. Our giveaway. Today, we're giving away one Leap Motion.
Yeah.
Joe, can you explain what a Leap Motion is?
Well, it's like a little 3D radar sort of thingy. It scans the air. You can just wave your hands in front of your computer screen and the Leap Motion picks up the hand movements that you make in the air above it. That means you can have a lot of fun with it, but it also means that you can use it to control your computer, click things and make movements and even use it in Second Life.
That's right. And you can use it right now in Second Life via a third-party app where you can map your hand gestures to the Second Life commands. But Leap Motion is working on natively integrating Leap Motion into Second Life, so that will be a lot smoother. But right now we're giving away one Leap Motion. Here's the procedure. This is a Facebook giveaway. And by the way, because I already hear the criticism and it's legit, we will do a Second Life only giveaway because Joe and I, we both value very much the privacy power that avatar-based collaboration and communication gives you. We value that. But for This week, we're doing a Facebook giveaway, facebook.com/Drax Radio Hour. We posted a snapshot from SL from an immersive experience designed by a prominent Second Life creator who I recently profiled. Now, if you can answer the question, what is her name, her Second Life name, then you are eligible for this Leap Motion. But here's how it works. Post on Facebook under the photo something along the lines here. I know who this is. I'm in the know. I want to win a leap and stuff like that. Something like that. Don't post the answer. Email the answer to radio@draxfiles.com. And again, next week, we'll give away a Leap Motion to SL folks exclusively. That will work with in-world IM without email addresses and the like, okay?
And I haven't tried it yet, but I've seen a fantastic video of it, and we'll put it on the website.
Real quick look at the top topics. I did find that Twitch is going on mobile. Twitch is a way to stream game content. I think it's pretty cool. It does essentially the same that Ustream does, but it's a little slicker interface, I would say, and it caters directly to gamers. So it's a platform where you can watch other people play games. And I think for Second Life folks, it would be great to put some Second Life content on there, or live stream maybe shows, or other events. Real quick, Joe, you posted a few weeks back something about Project Tango.
It is a way for you to easily scan your 3D surroundings. You get your mobile device, telephone, and you can record your surroundings. You could go into your living room, scan it, and turn it into a 3D rendition. For instance, in Second Life, perhaps. You can build your own house very easily into Second Life. I could go to real life Berlin and record all buildings for my Second Life 1920s Berlin. We can record how people live in this, today in 2014, regular households, normal living rooms. But we can also record castles and monuments and all these things. And they take up relatively little space on our hard drives. And, can you imagine if they had something like this 100 years ago, that you can walk through living rooms of ordinary people of 100 years ago? I mean, I'm going to be very jealous of the historians of the future.
All right, next, there was a panel discussion on the Second Life terms of service last week with intellectual property lawyers, and Inara Pay has a transcript on her blog, which is really fabulous. If you couldn't make it, there's also video recording from AView TV. So 3 lawyers discussing this thing for 3 hours with voice problems. Woo, surprise. So thank you, Inara, for providing this transcript. All right, moving to our feature now, SL Go. And I want to play my interview with Nate Barsetti, who is the Senior Manager of Customer Relations at OnLive. OnLive is the gaming service, or cloud gaming service, and they have implemented the Second Life mobile version, and they're handling all the customer support and the entire product management. He was a consultant on the project from the start, and it's interesting, Nate used to be Scout Linden. And he himself is an active SL resident and has been for the last 7 years. So that actually illuminates maybe why, in my opinion, the implementation of SL Go is pretty darn good. Here's Nate Barsetti.
OnLive is a cloud gaming company. Instead of running AAA titles on a local machine, we take the games and we run them in the data center. And then we pipe the graphics downstream to the end user. Now, many people over the years have said, and certainly before we launched, has said, well, that's impossible. Lag is too great. You can't beat the laws of physics. Well, I'd like to say we actually have. We have some tremendous technology that allows us to do very low latency transmissions. And we're talking round trip, right? The graphics go down, your eyeballs process it, sends a command down your spinal column, your thumb twitches in order to shoot somebody or jump. And then that transmission has to go back up to the server. This can actually occur in a 1,500 mile radius from the data center. We have 5 data centers across the world. California, we have a Northwest data center in Seattle that we just opened. We just opened another one outside of Chicago, and we have one in Virginia and Dallas as well. Our European data center is in Luxembourg, and we have a hub in London. The ultra hardcore gamer will notice a little bit of latency in it. But for the greater populace, it absolutely is playable. You tend to adjust for it. One of the better manifestations of games on the OnLive service has been the third-person adventure game. Right, so you're set slightly back from the character, and you might go into kind of a combat kind of mode, but you do exploring, and you're taking that third-person success and then looking at SL. You can see the parallels there. I think I could go out on a limb and say that SL residents are used to a little bit of lag. You know, you get 50 people on a sim, and you know that stuff's going to slow down. You throw a little bit of combat in there, you're going to be, chunking along.
I would also say that the SL crowd is a forgiving crowd, an accepting crowd, because we know there's a bigger holistic picture on the horizon.
That's right. And I actually, speaking of combat, I am a community leader in a rather large and long-term RP community in Second Life, and combat is part of that. It has various manifestations and various combat meters that are used. But over the years, I've always told my, let's call them proteges. They're actually Padawans, but when I taught them melee combat, I would always tell them, well, aim where you think that person's going to be in half a second, in some cases, multiple seconds every once in a while. But when I first fired up the SL viewer on OnLive, I saw that frame rate, and I saw how clear it was, and how I wasn't missing any frames as I panned around full speed. And I went, oh my God, I gotta try combat with this. So I got a buddy of mine, and we went and we slapped on the meters and lit some lightsabers and went to town, and it was fantastic. If you do access SL Go on a PC or Mac, or for that matter, attach a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse to your Android device, then you get the sense where you can actually do combat as you normally would on a local viewer.
The OnLive service consists, and that's what I got in my package. I have an Android tablet, and then you have the box that you can connect to your TV. Are you competing also directly in the long run with PlayStation and Xbox?
Well, exclusive titles aside that we don't have access to, I think that there is some parallels that could be drawn that were in the same space. When we launched, OnLive was dubbed the console killer. There was definitely some pushback that people liked physical media. They liked their disc. They liked their bookcases full of the jewel cases and all that. So this idea that game content was now something that was entirely digital, not even digitally within your hard drive, but fully in the cloud, was something that people were a little bit reluctant to jump into. That's changing. PlayStation now is in beta. They're developing something that we launched with just short of 4 years ago. So we've been working on a new manifestation of the game service that actually launched this week at the same time as SL Go, and this will allow you to actually sync OnLive with your Steam account. For a small subscription, you can then play all of your games on all the platforms that we support. And like you said, we have a Mac and PC client, we have an Android client, and we also have the OnLive game system, our micro console, a wireless game controller, and all the necessary cables that you would need to get going. Also, the game service is playable on Google TV. We are natively on the Vizio Co-Star as well as LG TVs.
And you own, you said this earlier, you own all your own data centers, which I assume really, ensures the quality of the streaming back and forth.
We do rent space within the data center. We don't have our own buildings, but we do rent racks where needed. And we have a tremendous network operations team that has done absolute magic with how they're routing traffic, getting people the best performance out of the service. When you connect, the service goes out and says, okay, what's the fastest route that I can find to a data center? So it'll send out multiple one and then dial in the one that has the least amount of latency associated with it. Now, getting back to SL Go, there's actually at one of our data centers, we are in the same building as Linden Labs servers. So I don't know if they're grid servers, asset servers, what it is, but we've actually seen, Linden Lab branded wooden boxes go by, so we know that the connection between the grid and our service is tremendously fast, and you can see it when objects are resing in, they pop in super fast.
One of the biggest problems that Linden Lab engineers are still working on, the HTTP project and all that stuff, is the variety of machines that people have at home and stuff that they cannot control. Not only the quality of the machines, but also the connection that goes into the home, the boxes. And you guys have figured out a way around that by basically rendering it in the cloud. But you're still dependent though on the speed that I get here. I guess my question is, did you have a focus group in Kansas or somewhere in the boondocks and see if they can get it?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Kansas, because when Google first rolled out its Google Fiber, they did so in Kansas City. So that might not be the best example, but it was anecdotally, they gave it to a bar owner. And they said, "So what are you going to do with your new Google Fiber?" And his response was, "Well, I'm going to play some OnLive." And we didn't even pay him. We had nothing to do with that. And of course, I read that and sent him a bunch of free products, because that's so awesome. Yes, you're right. OnLive is very, your success with OnLive is going to be directly related to the amount of bandwidth that you have, and your overall ping on your connection. Now, since launching in 2010, I can safely say that we've seen a decrease in the amount of complaints about visual fidelity and the ability to connect and that sort of thing, because I do know that American bandwidth is on the increase. We're not the only ones out there that are bandwidth hogs. And, as people get more and more of their video content streamed over Netflix or your choice on the matter, Hulu or whatever it is, the ISPs understand that they need to provide better connectivity. And, you're seeing fiber rolled out and, across the U.S. Interestingly enough, it's my understanding that, in rural environments, they're actually getting very good connection because, one, it's easier to lay the fiber. They're needing to upgrade on old copper, and they've kind of skipped that whole generation that we had in the more urban environments. They're going straight to higher speeds. Same thing with Europe. They had twisted pair for a long time, and now they're upgrading their wires and they're going straight to fiber.
It's time to move to Kansas. You've been working on this for about a year or so, I think it said in the review. So this was in the works for some time. And what was the biggest challenge? Was the biggest challenge how to get the complexity of SL going with an overlay interface on a small screen?
Actually, I would say that the interface was actually fairly easy to do, since we built this on an existing platform that already had a touch interface for some games. LA Noire come to mind. We had a touch native game on the service, but we also have the means in which to relay touch actions into controller commands natively in the service. So, touch kind of worked out of the box. We had to make the actual overlay buttons and then map that later on, but that actually was easy. What I would say was the biggest challenge was to make sure that we're providing a viewer to our users that was safe and secure. Save data such as passwords and resident names, were stored in a place that was, that no one could get to. So you'll notice that there have been a few things that have been disabled within the viewer. Snapshot does work, but not to local machine. Just you can visualize why that might be the case, is that you're not actually on the machine. So we just haven't gotten the solution where it makes the jump from that server to your local device or local machine with the open, with a save dialog and all that. So at this point, we did want to get it out there. So we disabled that. You can save it to your inventory. one of the things that came up recently was that SL photographers can use a tablet to navigate places, set their graphic performance to ultra high, open up everything on it, get your shadows, get your shaders, get your advanced lighting models, wind light, all that, and take your photos, save it to your inventory, and then come back on your local machine and extract that. Third-party viewers will allow you to pull a texture out of your inventory, so you could get your photos out that way. The question is, well, you can tell sometimes, especially with a shaky internet connection, that there is some compression there. There is some fuzziness, right? But understand that when you're saving to your inventory, that's happening behind the compression. So the machine is seeing it as clear as day, as if you were to plug a monitor into the server itself, and then saves it to your inventory. And when you come back later, even with graphic performance set really low, that texture will present as if it were in ultra high. I wanted to add too that we did remove advanced and develop menus for that security concern, that there was a little too many knobs there for our security specialists' comfort.
The status now, what is it called? Is it called open beta now?
It is now in an open beta. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
What is the pricing model going to be? I see that the timer here on the right side. Can you tell us anything about that?
Mm-hmm. Since OnLive is another layer of network connection, or it's a whole nother network between you and the Second Life or Linden Lab network. In order to fund this and to keep it going, there is a payment model associated with this. If you go to slgo.onlive.com, you'll be presented with a free 20-minute trial. At that point, you have the option to purchase credits or purchase minutes for SLGo, 1 hour for $3, or $8 for 3 hours, or $25 for 10 hours. So the last two give you a 10% and a 15% savings, respectively. There will be people out there that will say, well, I've never had to pay for a Second Life viewer. We, as residents, know that our money goes to the users that create compelling content and that sort of thing. The thing about this is, for me, when SLGo first came about, I realized how important this will be for people who spend a tremendous amount of time in Second Life. For those times that you are just unable to be at your computer for whatever reason, whether it be I've got to go down to the post office, or I got to go to the DMV, or I got to go to jury duty, or I got to go to grandma's house, whatever it may be. There's some times where you just can't get in, but there's also times when you have to be in. So this really allows you the opportunity to take Second Life with you and interact and go to that event. Maybe you're a shop owner and you need to get in for interaction with your customers and provide some customer service for your customers, or simply hey, I got some time to kill and I want to just go cruise around. I want to go to that party. I just want to be in world. Because we all love our avatars very much, and we all have a serious connection with that avatar. Sometimes when we're logged off, that avatar isn't living. In addition, the OnLive game system, SLGo on the micro console, is amazing. It looks so good. It's 720p. You can sit on your couch 10 feet away and read it clear as day. You plug in either a USB mouse and keyboard. The device actually has two little USB ports on it, or you can get individual RF wireless connections, dongles. Say like Logitech has them. They're these little tabs that you sync those dongles with your keyboard in your lap, and you got your mouse on the pillow next to you, and you kick your feet back. It's great.
We will see from my video review that I had a really pleasurable experience, and self-classified SL hardcore enthusiast, I would pay that. What do you think that this availability on mobile means for SL's growth in general.
Well, I think it is a contributing factor to the overall improvement of SL. Mesh and the new lighting technologies have done a great deal for improving the overall kind of aesthetic appearance of SL. It looks sophisticated. It's on par. And then with server-side rendering, which allowed things to move a lot faster, with this addition, broadening where you can log in from.
Now the ball is in the court of Linden Lab, I guess, how to capitalize on the fact that SL is capable of doing this, right? I mean, maybe they roll it in with some goodies or they advertise it a certain way. That's not your company's primary concern right now when you hand the ball off.
I can't speak to Linden Labs' overall plan or product roadmap for Second Life. I certainly, as a resident, hope that it does continue to improve. I would say my overall observation of Second Life as of recently has been that it is a much more core group of people in there, people that are dedicated. I think it's a much more sophisticated environment just in the human interaction that's there. From my perspective, obviously that all still exists, and SL is what you make of it, right? So, I would like to see it continue to improve, and I'm certainly glad to be contributing to this development. I mean, how long have they said, oh well, Second Life will never be on a mobile device. You just can't run a full viewer on a mobile processor. That is just impossible. They would never be able to get the UI to be, a touch UI and da da da. I'm pretty, psyched to have broken that perception.
But I am curious in terms of growing Second Life and making it, sort of bringing it into the new century and making it attractive for new users who have maybe never heard of it or have an association of some crappy looking place where amateurs build things that look crappy. That should be a marketing slogan.
So in other words, my home, right?
Exactly, that's by your garage. But you are going to have it on the OnLive on the smorgasbord of OnLive playable games, right? So it's placed there at some point, or
it does not show in the game selection until you go to SL Go and create an account and attribute credits to your account. That's when it starts to present in the game service. It's not a hub for people to discover Second Life for the first time. The marketing that we are doing will be targeted to this SL community because we think of this as an advanced kind of permutation of the viewer.
I do see such a big group of people, and I'm not a marketer, but I see a group of people that could be so happy with what SL can provide. But this is really should be a different topic of conversation, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to name this product Snow Crash, and it didn't take. So, with things like Oculus Rift and some of the kind of cool kind of mocap suits and stuff, it's almost breathing new life into Second Life. It's like this big loop back into the beginnings of VR and all of that. And with the quality of, say, Oculus Rift, and people are understanding that it's an immersive environment, and this is a step into making that a more accessible or not reliant on the old guard of local hardware. The next step in computing, right? When you just have a screen, you just have screens places, and the information that you need is presented instantaneously. Obviously, SL has a perception, has a public perception to it that has come about from just a lack of understanding about what it is that it provides. And it doesn't take long for you to shed that interface of the screen to your eyeballs. I know that when I do log in, the world around me ceases to, comes out of focus, and I am in there. And the technologies as they progress will even add to that further. I look forward to that. If a developer wants to take it a generation further, I think that Second Life is going to be the standard bearer.
So that was Nate Barsetti.
Quite interesting. It was, you really do sense that someone who was involved with this actually knows and understands Second Life. It was quite well done, quite well implemented. You have to get used to it, of course, a little bit, and some of the controls are perhaps a bit too touchy-feely for me, and suddenly you're looking down or up when you didn't want to.
I think we should play the next interview right away because Dennis Harper, who is the senior product manager from OnLive, because he talks a little bit about the interface design as well, and he was not familiar with Second Life when he was tasked to work on this, but he immersed himself quite thoroughly. Here's Dennis Harper.
When I was hired, and the first day I got in the door, they handed me the book by James Owl, Second Life, right? And they said, go figure out what these people are all about. And to tell you the truth, I've been in video games for a long time, so I have actually explored Second Life in the past and have had some experience with it. And I was really into MMOs a lot, and so, but I never really got into it big time. But when I wanted to get back into it here, then I had to immerse myself in the culture and the people. And
I suppose also the different uses, because all the different subcultures, they use it so many different ways. So you got to figure out what is actually the priority here.
That's right. I actually took the role of more like an explorer. So I just started going to different places and seeing different things and hearing what people were talking about and that in reading the cultural book, and then I was able to come up with some idea of what this what the mentality or what the what these people were about. And what I really learned though is that just like real life, Second Life's all over the map. I mean,
I was just gonna say, it's so incredibly diverse in terms of how do they see it as a literal extension versus complete escapism versus sort of walking, chewing gum at the same time, wanting it separate, wanting it together, and all that kind of stuff, identity-wise.
That's right. In fact, and everybody plays Second Life differently, and I would always be playing, a beautiful female avatar walking around, right? All of my avatars in my MMOs are female, and I just like doing that because I think guys are more they're friendlier to you, and they tend to give you things and stuff. So so I end up getting things from people that way. But anyway. And then I kind of learned that in Second Life, too, that, there are the people that really want to represent themselves as themselves. And they really, they really go out of their ways to make their avatars exactly the way they look, and down to facial expressions and everything. And for them to walk around as another gender is a very strange thing.
I think it's fabulous that you seem to really dug in and wanted to learn about the culture. I have encountered many people who were tasked to selling Second Life. I'm not going to name any names, or even design-wise. I think they would have benefited in sort of not just sort of teleporting in and then I understand, but just walking around a little bit and getting a feel for the culture. Even if you're just tasked with a merely technical problem, I think that would benefit anybody.
Absolutely. And so, what my role is as a product manager, or as a senior product manager, is to really define what the features of the application are going to be. And in order to do that, you really have to understand the environment that application is going into. So it became, what do Second Lifers really like to do, or not like to do, but that they need to do? And let's focus on those features first, right? You need to move around easily. You need to chat. That's a really important thing. You need to chat with people. It's a very important thing to Second Lifers. You need to be able to manage your inventory, and you need to be able to change your appearance. We had to make sure that those particular activities were not only doable, but were easy in the application. So from my viewpoint as a product manager, I had to understand what the common things were. Now, but when you get to somebody like a very top tier level player, for instance, like your son, who was playing a combat game, or like Nate, who's playing a Jedi Master, and he's slicing people's heads off with swords and things like that. That becomes a very niche crowd, right? I mean, do I design my product for those particular people? Because they're maybe a very small percentage and I could really focus on spending a lot of time making features to make sure that those people are satisfied, but it might only please just a very, very small amount of people. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely the right approach. And no serious content creator would build complex things on the go. Just as much as I wouldn't mix a band on a cell phone, I want a big mixing board. But building does work. It's amazing. I'm just saying it's amazing that it does work.
Yeah, it's amazing that it does work, but I really never expected people to actually use it for that particular operation. It's only because, not that it just doesn't work, it's because of the size. It's a tiny little thing. It's a distance, think if it was this. What if you were trying to build on your cell phone and you're trying to move little things around? It would be very, very difficult to do that. Actually, I was in a restaurant the other day showing my son, running around, flying around in an environment, and I must have spent 20 minutes doing it, and all of a sudden I got this warning on my Verizon data usage bill.
I think the people who will hate you more than some of the Second Life complainers will be maybe the Verizons of the world. They will come knocking at your door. What the heck are you doing with the traffic?
That's right. I recommend Wi-Fi, by the way. And in terms of the pricing too, that was a business decision that we made. And the reason we made it is because we didn't really know what the usage patterns were going to be for people. Once we understand how people use the application, we may be able to provide a subscription package that says, for a monthly fee, you get this thing and you get to use all you want. Because as we know how these usage patterns work, then we know what we can do, right? But we need to analyze this first. And the fact is, as our services are not cheap, OnLive has extremely powerful, state-of-the-art computers in the cloud with massive GPUs and rendering systems and great gigabit interconnectivity in data centers. And so it's a pretty expensive overhead to maintain our service. And so we can't really give it away. What we like to say to people is that, you don't have to use SL Go. You can use Lumia if you want to. It's very good for chatting, but you're not going to get the same kind of immersive experience that you're going to get on the SL Go app. That's basically what we're saying.
iOS is coming. iOS is in the works, or what's the status?
iOS is definitely in the works. Our goal is to create what I would call an application of parity with the Android. In other words, let's make the same set of functionality. What we probably want to do, though, is that as our first foray into the wild here. I mean, as you've fed back to me, and all of our other previewers have fed back to me, and there's going to be some feedback from the public. It would be kind of cool to fix kind of the top items, and then go to the iOS after that, because then we can even have a better premiere on the iOS system. Like if we could fix, for instance, some of the keyboard interaction problems that there are right now, which I think would be a good way to go, or to add voice chat, or whatever we need to do to make that the next kind of level, right?
You're still working on the UI to really perfect it, to interact with the existing UI, to make it more intuitive and all that.
That's right. With the current UI, we realize it's a first strike, and we just wanted to get it out there, and we wanted to get feedback from our users and say, what do you think of this? Can you suggest another way to do this? Is there something missing that you would really like to have? And we're already getting great response from it. And I think in terms of Second Life community too, I really get the impression that the community really wants to help. They really want to feed back, and they want to say, it would be really cool if it had one of these, and I don't like the way this works. If there's something you can do about this, it'd be great. But they're also very gracious, too.
My feedback is very good, especially when they've seen it, not unexpectedly. Everybody wants a free Lexus and gasoline for life. And that's a human issue. That's something that nobody of us can maybe solve.
Well,
ever.
You make a good point, because the fact is that when you charge any money for anything, no one wants to pay it. No one wants to pay money for anything. There's an impression that the internet is free, and that we should get it for free. And there's, that's really all there is to it. But really, premium services like OnLive are really very, very high tech, and there is a lot of infrastructure that's involved.
Looking into the future, I think in our previous conversation, you actually said that you can also see beyond targeting now the hardcore SL user, the merchant, the pro. This could also benefit the visibility of SL outward.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that, well, number one, I think that we really have to, there's got to be a feedback loop. We have to get that feedback into our systems, and we have to prioritize the things that the SL community really wants to see in the application. Get those things into the application, and then focus on how do we engage, or how do we acquire new users? And if we are going to go after the noobs or the new users, or even breed brand new users into Second Life, I believe that we may have to do something like open up an SL Go sim and have them come into a sim and show them how the touchpad works and such, and give them instructions on places that they can go in Second Life that are, I mean, for instance, for me, if I didn't have somebody to show me that, it was very difficult. And so what we would do is we'd show you, number one, this is how you move on the tablet. This is how you look at, camera on the tablet. And by the way, if you go to this world, they're going to show you how Second Life works. One thing I also just learned too is that from a customer support standpoint, I just learned that all of the people that are, if you are a SL Go user and you contact customer support with an SL Go question or a feature, the person or the people that are going to answer you are all Second Life players. They have knowledge of Second Life, and so we actually bred an internal Second Life support team.
So that was Dennis Harper, Senior Product Manager at OnLive. Dennis mentions that the pricing is somewhat preliminary for this beta, so they can gauge how folks use the service. Now, let's talk about the feedback from the community, Joe. I hear tons of positive feedback, but the criticism that we hear is pricing, and especially then the pricing in relation to, we get Lumia, which is a mobile viewer for Second Life, or the Android platform made by one individual, very smart and talented woman. We can get that practically for free, so why would you use that?
And I have to confess that because I am absolutely not a mobile user, I've never heard of Lumia, so I can't really judge on how good it is and if you can even compare it at all.
Well, let me very briefly say that Lumia is an amazing feat when you think about that. It's one individual that put this on mobile by herself, working day and night, and put it on there, but it's absolutely no comparison to OnLive streaming Second Life down after having rendered it on high-end machines.
The most important thing is, what I hear from people is that it costs too much. And it's not just because I'm Dutch, but I agree with that. The Dutch, at least where I'm from, the Dutch are famous for penny pinching, and we don't like spending anything unless we can buy stroopwafels.
I understand. How much would you pay for it? Would you pay a flat fee per month?
Yes, if I would pay anything for it, I would prefer a flat fee, because I don't like the idea of being surprised by a bill. If someone says it's 50 or 25 or $50 a month, then I can say, right, I can't afford it, end of story. Or I can say, okay, I can afford it, and I won't suddenly get these very scary bills. What I would really like is if Linden Lab would make a nice deal and, for instance, give every premium Second Life user, an hour free a month.
Right.
I don't know. As a deal, I think that will make becoming a premium member a lot more interesting. I don't think that the price itself is perhaps too much for what you get, because I know Surface cost a massive amount of money, and they've got this, as they said in the interview, they have these very expensive computers, and they've got to pay bills as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking about the users. Most of us are already paying a fair bit of money into putting it into Second Life. $2.50 an hour, it just sounds like much, even though you get what you pay for, and it's probably the right price. automatically sort of go, I don't want to pay that.
As much as I really don't like the free market, and I'm a socialist at heart, there you go, I'm going to get hate mail for that. What the free market does, at least in theory, is that if there's demand, then there will be supply and the price will go down. So I think if more folks use it and they use it extensively, then maybe the price will go down and they rethink that strategy.
Yeah, true. But on the other hand, if they start with a really attractive price, they will get more people to use it.
That's why I'm not in marketing. You've got a good point there. Mm.
I've heard from a lot of people that they've tried it for 10 minutes, which is, to be honest, which is not enough. So they try it and they say, yeah, I'm impressed. It looks really good, but now I've got to start paying. Or, to be honest, you have to already give them your credit card information before you do even try the 3 minutes. If I was not invited to this test, I would not have been able to try it at all because I don't have a credit card. I don't want one because I'm a socialist.
I had a brief conversation with Marion McCann also a couple days ago, who said it's just too out of the realm for her because she just doesn't have that discretionary income to plunk down on something like this. But she really would like to use it. So I really understand that. On the other hand, I cannot accept the complaining from folks who spend a lot of money in Second Life and who also make a lot of money. There are people who make substantial amounts of money, merchants, and that's great because they put out great stuff. I do think for them, it is practically a no-brainer to be able to log into SL on the go. To do customer service, to manage inventory, to just be present, communicating with customers and even with other collaborators if they're on a project.
Well, that I think that a lot of people are also looking at this the wrong way. This is not meant to replace your home computer. I would love to go. I hate the beach, but I'd love to go to the park and be on Second Life there for a couple of hours, or you're just in the train, or you're waiting for a plane, and you've got 10, 20 minutes, or maybe an hour to wait. I can see myself using this for emergencies, for maybe an hour or 2, 3 a month. Even then, I would prefer to have not pay per minute.
Yeah, if I were to make a prediction, I do think that it will go into a flat model monthly, or maybe rolled into with other services down the line.
Yeah.
Also, what came to mind, because Zach Claxton, an SL musician, was talking to him, and I do see the availability on mobile really significant for the audience, for musicians and other events. People can participate when there is a show, a theater or a music show, and they could log in. But again, then the price point would probably be prohibitive, especially if you as a musician want to market this outward and say, hey, look, I'm going to play in this virtual world.
Yeah.
And then people say, what's that? Then we have the same old problem that they actually have to sign up to Second Life.
Yeah, with their credit card.
Unfortunately, like it or not, I mean, this is in the US pretty much the model. When you try out a service, you have to give them some information.
Yeah, but why not PayPal?
I don't know. It's beta. Things change quickly.
Let's hope they put PayPal on there as soon as possible.
Look, Joe, you know what influence we have with this podcast. Everybody's listening to this podcast, and you mark our words. Next week we'll have PayPal. Listen to me, OnLive folks.
Yeah, sure. What I'm also wondering, and that's something that I haven't heard yet, except from people who've asked me. Right now, we've tried it at a moment where not a lot of people are trying it. So it was all pretty damn smooth. But what if a couple of thousand of people sign up for this and they are all in Second Life at the same time? Are we all using the same server? And is a poor little old server at the OnLive headquarters, blowing smoke and screaming help and slowing everything down?
It obviously depends on them. having server capacity available to simulate the environment. And if that doesn't work, then the whole thing, is going to collapse very quickly. That's for sure.
How big is the company? I mean, how many people are actually using the service for other games?
Good question. Inara has some information on her blog because there was a restructuring of the company a couple of years ago, and they launched everything also with SL Go just this Wednesday. So
yeah, I checked their Facebook page, and it was quite nice to hear, and also their Twitter account. A lot of users long-time users are very happy that they're back, and they're very excited that it's all going well again, and they're also quite happy about the new experience they've had with their games. So it seems like they've got a fresh start.
Yeah, for me as a non-gamer, I find it really, really attractive, the concept of streaming this stuff down. The capability of the end device doesn't really matter. And again, you said this also in your blog post. The other aspect is that SL Go instantly upgrades old machines that you have lying around the house.
That impressed me the most. I think it's 5 or even 6-year-old laptop, MacBook. And when that runs Second Life, it is awful. It brings me to tears. And that was at the very, very low setting. But my gaming computer fell apart, so I had to use it. And, I have to go to 1920s Berlin and talk to my tenants and manage our daily happy hour and do all sorts of things on a computer that was about to explode. And if I had this option, I would have been so happy. I would have been able to go to Second Life on my very old MacBook Pro, or I could have used my old MacBook Pro to show other people what Second Life can look like.
You're adding this other point that I almost forgot, showing other people how it looks like. I've already had the experience here while playing around with the thing on mobile, and we went down to the local ice cream shop and went to other places around town, and people did look over my shoulder and they looked at it, and I involved them a little bit into conversation, and some of them had, in fact, the perception what it looked like in 2007, and they were just totally blown away. So I do think in the long term, and I want to ask you the same question actually, what do you think? Does this due to the change of perception?
For starters, purely PR based, we can now say that Second Life is also a mobile option. It has a mobile option. We can say you can experience Second Life on a mobile device, and that is very important. It makes other websites and companies and press and media pay attention again. We have to keep up with the neighbors.
But then again, that's what I asked also Nick. The ball, as I see, the ball is in Linden Labs' court now, how to really capitalize on the availability on mobile. What is the smart thing to do for them now, you think?
They have to promote it. They have to start asking random people, what do you think of Second Life? And then they have to go and try and fight to change these people's opinions. Because I have that experience. I'm completely out of the closet as a Second Life user. I tell all my real life friends, and every single time I have to defend myself about so many things, about the kinky side of Second Life, but also about the graphics, and also about it being used by sad, lonely people without a life, which in my case, of course, is true. But, I know that there are some people in Second Life who actually have a real life as well. And, I have to defend all those things, and while in a way, I think that is Linden Labs' job.
But now then we go again with the availability of mobile. How can mobile contribute in changing their perception? I guess the problem is then again, right now as it stands now, it appeals to the hardcore user who is already in Second Life. And unless they manage their inventory or build some really awesome stuff at a public place and people look over their shoulder and ask, what is that? There really is no effect, bringing in new users.
The people who are using OnLive already as gamers may decide to try Second Life. And of course, people who go to the Second Life website because they're curious, they will see that it is also available on a mobile device.
Well, who goes to the Second Life website unless they are loners and type into a search engine, I want a Second Life?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
See, you turned me into a cynic. I was so optimistic, but doing this podcast with you, I turned into a terrible cynic.
Well, that's my job. But when you come to Second Life website and you realize that it is not available as on mobile devices, then you go, What's happening? Is this company stuck in the 1990s?
All right, so we're running out of time. There's plenty of comments already. Please keep those comments coming and call us. Michael Steen on our Facebook page actually brought up a point. I must not forget that, because if OnLive folks are listening, Dennis, if you're listening, he says he loves it, but he says the alt zoom is difficult. It doesn't work with the overlay interface. So basically on the Second Life user interface, you keep the Alt key pressed, and then you can zoom around with the mouse. So I have no idea how to implement that with the overlay menu, but that's a small little detail that Michael brought up. I think it's a good point.
There's one thing that we have to remember all the time, is that it's beta.
That's right.
Still, a lot of things are going to change. I hope one of the things they are going to change is the pricing. I hope it's going to be cheaper, and I hope they're going to have more options. But I am sure that's something, that they're going to do. It's going to go in a different way eventually.
In closing to this topic, I think it's huge. And we're also linking to the fabulous video commercial featuring two very young, good-looking Second Life youngsters who go to a laundromat.
It is a smooth commercial. It's very well filmed, and they're a lovely couple.
Yep. And women always wear bikinis, by the way. That's standard.
That's true, but that's fact. Here in Amsterdam, everyone does that.
Of course.
Bikinis and clogs. Again, it sort of promotes the same old image of Second Life that Linden Lab seems to be promoting itself all the time, is that it is all about shopping and dancing.
So I agree with you 100%. Right? But let's look at Linden Lab as a business. And if their data shows that how they make money as a business is people buying clothing and buying hair, why shouldn't they emphasize that in a commercial?
Because it takes 3 seconds to show one other thing. Because we've got a boy and a girl, and she is shopping, then they go dancing. How about they go shopping, they go have some role play fun, and then they go dancing? Or they go visit one of Loki's fantastic places, or they get lost in New Babbage. How much effort is it? 2 or 3 seconds when they're hanging upside down from a Zeppelin. Yeah, but Linden Labs themselves are always doing that as well. The general image, when I see an advertisement for Second Life, just the normal picture somewhere on the internet, it is always Barbie and Ken in their bikini.
I wish there were sort of a monthly video series on YouTube that showcases other uses of Second Life that don't involve Barbie and Ken.
Can't be done.
Yeah, you're right. Forget about it. What a waste of time that is.
Nobody gonna watch it.
Certainly not if cat videos are freely available.
Yeah, I know it's embarrassing to you, but I still think that they should hire you to make a couple of good videos about Second Life.
I'm not turning down paid gigs, but I also value my creative freedom quite a bit. I've come to the conclusion that the kind of freedom, as long as I can sustain it, is worth more than having 3 cars and a boat. I don't know what that means, but whatever. What I would do a Linden Lab Twitch channel. I would do a Linden Lab radio channel. They used to have something like that. It involves hiring good staff and really doing this nicely. But as you know, Brett, who does the Destination Guide, which we both very much love, Brett used to do little videos profiling creators. And I thought that they do something extremely important that needs to be done, which is profiling individuals.
But, even a very simple video that lasts 30 seconds that shows a very nice sim with ultra graphic settings, which is now possible. Film that for 30 seconds, put some nice music on it, and end with the logo with Second Life getting better all the time.
Ooh. Joe, you're a genius. I love that.
I went to film school for 4 years.
Second Life getting better every time.
Getting better all the time.
Oh, sorry.
How much effort would it take someone to make that? Someone from Second Life, it doesn't need a story. It doesn't need voice recording. It doesn't, just go to a nice sim that looks really good.
Yeah.
Look around with your camera. 30 seconds. That's what most commercials sort of take. A little bit less, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You film that. Plaster it all over YouTube, over Facebook, Twitter, I don't know. That's the kind of video that you want to show your friends if they don't have enough patience to watch, a 5-minute Drax file.
Right. That's way too much to ask for to actually get it.
But, if you can show someone 30 seconds of graphics of Second Life looking really cool, and you say, that would interest a lot of my friends who would normally not be very interested in Second Life. People would say, oh, that's interesting.
you have so many good ideas, but we need to end. We're at the end of this hour. Hope you guys liked it. Please keep the comments coming. Call in. Victor Mornington calls in all the time. I love him. We all love him. We love his voice. But we need other voices too. We can't just have Scottish people on all the time. Okay, so call the Skype line.
Oh, I could listen to Scottish people all day.
Oh, don't get him started.
And Irish boys. Sorry, what are we talking about?
All right, so cool things. What is happening? Relay for Life, Second Life is starting. We'll have an interview with some of the organizers next time. Relay for Life of secondlife.org. They have their own website. They have a Facebook page. Inara, again, has a blog post about the kickoff celebration this very weekend. Joe, anything that you will be doing? Surfing with the tablet or what?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to explore a place called Fort Tungen, I think that's German. A friend of mine, Mr. Gustav von Rosenheim, who lives in 920 Berlin, just discovered that by accident, and it's a recreation of a historical fort. Looks really, really nice.
All right, that's it. We'll see you. Well, we'll hear you. Maybe see you in World, but we'll hear you next week. Joe, bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Beth Ghostraven, Rag Media, France Charming, Joyce Betancourt, Humanoid Animations, Alfonso Preferle, Lindsay Carter, Kokoya, Mad Pea Productions, and Joe Nickens. Special thanks to Marissa for providing the station ID this week. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.